to Inferior Gaming, where controllers are sometimes hurled at the TV. I'm Alan.
I'm Caitlin, and I've never hurled a controller. I don't know what you're talking about.
I have never hurled it at the TV. I would never do that, actually. Not on purpose.
I think I've told this story before. I have twisted it in my hand until it groaned, and I had to put it down or I was going to snap it in half.
It's just snapped together. It's two pieces of plastic, snapped together, top and bottom. You totally could bust that thing apart by twisting it.
Yep.
I definitely would chew on the old NES controller in frustration, bite down on it. It had bite marks on the corners.
I have no memory of doing
old
that.
Tetris.
Because I was quite young, but now that you say that, and I think about the old controllers, I feel like they probably have been in my mouth at some point, That was the most terrible way to put that, but oh well.
It was not stimming, that kind of thing. It was definitely anger. It was definitely, if only I could reach into the TV and bite you, but this is the closest I can come.
I was just one of those kids that puts their mouth on everything. You know what I mean?
Yep.
A friend of mine has a kid like that, and there are times when I'm like, that's gross, but I get it. Anyway.
So what have you been putting your mouth on this week? No,
Jesus.
that's not
gross.
I don't know. What have you been playing?
I've been playing The Adventures of Elliot. And
Oh, right.
So on Friday, I got the bad ending, which is fine because I know I wanted the trophy for getting the bad ending. So I was fine with that. But man, the game switches up at the end because it is very handholdy with side quests and where you need to go next and that sort of thing, which that's not a complaint. I don't mind that at all. I understand why some people would, but it doesn't bother me. And you can turn some of it off, I think.
The handholdness of it
I think. I honestly haven't looked, but I think you can have quests not appear where they are on the map so that you don't know exactly where to go. And you just have to go. I have no idea, actually. Anyways, but it doesn't do that at the end. They just say, okay, there's the big bad guy, let's go kill it. And if you go kill it, you get the bad ending. But there's nothing on your map or other than as you're leaving to go kill it, your fairy companion kind of says, we should take care of everything else before we go do this, in that video game way. That's the only hint that there is a whole shit ton more to do.
Okay, I see. I was so confused. I was like, you're not supposed to kill the bad guy? But you're saying there was, if you should do other things before you kill the bad guy.
Well,
to get a better
those other
ending.
Things. So then I went and got the good ending. And when I was doing the good ending, I was like, I'll stop doing the extra stuff here and go and get the good ending. And then I can finish the extra stuff and go and kill the bad guy and get the true ending. But then when I was doing stuff, I was like, oh, this isn't right for the true ending. Anyways, I got the good ending too, and it was pretty good. Other than it left a kind of there was definitely I figured out what was going on, even though the characters didn't, which I think is bad writing, but whatever.
Yeah.
So I got the good ending, and I was like, well, that kind of sucked. That A, the characters didn't put it together, and B, that there wasn't something better. Because at that point, I figured we were still killing the big bad in the true ending. So then I went back to do the true ending, did everything, all the extra stuff you have to do, got the characters to put it all together, even though holy shit, it took a lot. He had to have it spelled out for him. There was one point, the beginning of the story, the first thing you learn about Elliot is that a man died under a certain tree with him in his arms as a baby, right? And then literally later on in the game, you escort a guy holding a baby through a time travel thing. And I'm like, Elliot, how are you not fucking putting this together, you idiot?
Right. That's funny.
And, well, anyways, eventually he figures it out, and we figure out who the scary thing is I don't want to call them the big bad in this particular ending. So I went and I stopped them without violence, which is what you have to do to get the true ending. And I was like, great. And then I guess we're just going to get a little bit more story with everyone. And then there was a bit where I was like, maybe we're setting up the sequel. But no, there's so much more to do because there is a big fight to get to, I guess. But it's just not the same person. You got to go fight something else. And I was working on it for hours yesterday because I really wanted to finish. And I did. And then it was like almost midnight. I was like, I gotta go to sleep. I didn't get there.
So you didn't get there?
I did not finish. And I was very annoyed.
Oh, man.
Everyone's happy. Everyone's happy. Everything's good. We saved people. We discovered, we found our dad and blah, blah, blah. We could have just been fucking done. We saved the kingdom. But no, apparently it's still in danger from somebody else, and I gotta go deal with it.
That's like very old school Squaresoft. That's how
Yes.
that whole thing sounds to me.
Yes. There were definitely parts of this that felt extremely old school Squaresoft to me. Yes. Although there was one part where I had to go into a secret lab to find somebody who was locked up in this, having experiments performed on them and stuff. And you just walk in as yourself and everyone is like, oh, what are you doing here? And I'm like, if this was a proper Squaresoft game, we would have had to knock one of them out and steal their uniform and then pretend to be them and answer some awkward questions.
Right.
And I'm like, why didn't we do that? That would have been so much better. I really enjoy this game, but there are definitely parts where I'm like, I see where you cut some corners.
Yeah, you go back and fix the time loop, and then it's like the actual enemy is bigotry, or something like that. And then you're like,
that is accurate to the game. That is what the big enemy is. It is bigotry, 100%.
Right, but it's not like, oh, education is the answer. It's like, no, you have to go fight bigotry. He has 7 wings and 3 heads,
okay,
and stuff like that.
It's not like that. There was one point in one of the ages where somebody was like, I want somebody else to be in charge. And them wanting this other person to be in charge just fucked up everything. And I was like, maybe you could take responsibility for yourself for one goddamn time.
Yeah,
you
weird.
Fucking idiot. I was so angry. And there was somebody else who was like, no, I hate that person, that type of people. We should never let them be in charge. And I hated that guy less because at least he wasn't. Because he was just saying, I am the village chief. What are you doing?
Mm-hmm.
But why do you want this other person to be chief? That makes no sense. Where's this even coming from? I'm like, exactly. Why not just be friends? What has happened? You fucked everything up, woman. Not him. You. Anyways, I am enjoying the game, but I wish I had finished it last night, but I did not. I do love how much the cats are important and how much there are cats everywhere and how I had to go find...
Oh, it's not just collecting.
It's not just collecting. Well, I've put them all in the city now. So the city is indeed covered in cats.
Nice.
And then if you feed one a bunch, they will move into your orphanage home. And and then you can play with them. And that's really cute. Anyways, and then you have to find the 3 special cats later on in the game. And they're really cool, and I like them a lot.
And it's not really a mechanical issue or something like that. It's just the story and the way they're telling that story in the extra, the amount of extra to the true ending, if you will.
Yes, there's a lot of extra, which is fine. I mean, I guess it's, I didn't buy the game, but the game was bought. So we may as well get as much gameplay out of it. It's fine.
Yeah, that's one way to think about it. This sure does have a lot of hours to it, is a whole design philosophy. It's I never finished Nier Automata, or I don't know if that's how you say that.
Automata,
game.
Maybe?
Sure.
One or the other, probably.
It felt like that kind of thing, though. It was I played through the whole game, or what felt like the whole game, but it's not at all. And I beat it. And then you start over and you play as, there's 3 characters, and you beat it as one of them. And then you start over and you play as the other character. And you see different things that aren't, it gives you more context. You thought that you were doing a thing, but you're actually not understanding the full picture. And I was like, oh, cool. That's a neat idea. But then it was like, oh, I have to do everything again, though. And I like looked up what's going on. And it's like, yeah, and then you do it a third time. And I was like, oh,
That's why I've
I
never
don't
played
like
that
this. Yeah,
game.
I don't like it.
I don't actually, and I've never played all of the 3 houses routes because even if you don't play them a lot of the time, it's like, okay, I got it. Like,
Yeah.
I'm good.
Yeah. Well, I didn't touch Persona, so you'll be mad at me.
I'm not mad. You can do whatever you want.
Because instead, I spent time with my kids. So stupid. What a waste of time.
I've been having a
Should have
similar
played
problem.
video games.
Not the kids thing, but
Yeah.
just in
You'd
general,
really be
getting out
holding
of the
out.
house more and
Yeah.
doing stuff, and it's terrible because it's hot out there.
It was terrible to go to the farmer's market. I was like, oh, it's so hot. Ugh. Yeah, so I did that instead. But I have been looking forward to, and I don't think I've talked about it at all, looking forward to the release of a game called Dench Attack, which I don't know where that word comes from. It seems Japanese. The whole thing seems very Japanese to me, which is probably racist, because what I mean is weird. The concept is like a skateboard trick game,
Right.
but you're a train instead of a person on a skateboard. I guess you're a person in a train, but you can do impossible, crazy shit, and it's great. It's great. It has. I used to be depressed. I'm happy now. All my financial problems are gone, and it's this game gave that to me, so I highly recommend it to everyone. It is on Game Pass, which no one can afford, so you could probably just buy the game much cheaper than getting Game Pass. But it's a lot of fun. You have to you can control the brakes on the train and stuff, and then you can make the train jump, like how trains do in real life, and then while it's in the air, you move around the analog stick, and it does, kick flips and back flips and front flips and barrel rolls and stuff. And then the train.
Okay.
It's one train car. It's not crazy. And there's train tracks all over the city and countryside. And there's like many people who do this at the same time competitively for points. And there's like a whole trophy thing that people are vying for, and each one of the people who are trying to, you're a new person at this, and you really don't even understand the culture at all, and you have a senpai who's like walking you through the whole thing, and then you meet different characters who are very anime designed and have particular interest in, like, I have glasses and you can't see my eyes and that makes me creepy kind of, thing.
Very anime.
You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Anime.
But
I'm dressed up like a maid.
Is that still a train?
Yeah. No, they're like the train driver, and then they have a tricked out train.
Sorry, I was picturing like Thomas the Tank type stuff.
That would be great. That would make this game better. They should do that. But no, it's not that. You go up against each one of these individuals and then you impress them, and they're like, okay, you're cool, you're in the club, and you're building up to being in a tournament. You have to do all kinds of tricks. You have to take the corners at a certain speed, and then you drift around corners the way that trains do. It's just ridiculous. I love how not realistic at all it is, how crazy it is. I did a trick off of this like roller coaster-esque train track and landed on top of a giant Ferris wheel in the city, and then sped the train up really, really fast to make the Ferris wheel like go through downtown Tokyo and like bopping over buildings. And then it launched me into a volcano, which I went down the volcano, and there was roller coaster tracks down there, and let out a huge magma pool into the ocean, and that was the end of the level. And I was like, great. That was so much fun. I love it. That is what I want from video games, is just crazy, impossible shit. And it was everything that I wanted that game to be. So it was lots and lots of fun. I'm bad at it, but it's fun.
Good. I mean, that's all of us, right? I mean, that's both of us with all of our games.
Oh, yeah.
We're bad at, even if they're fun.
It gives, because it's a Japanese game, at the end of every level, it gives you like a grade, the way that they do. And they're like a D or an E. And I was like, okay, I don't care that I'm not S tier. It's fine. They're like, you missed these many corners and you only did a minimum amount of tricks. And I'm like, I know, it was great. I love it so much.
Yeah.
The game's like, you're bad. I don't care.
I don't think I've ever gotten more than 1 star for any level of Overcooked. So, I'm like, as long as we don't burn down the kitchen, we're winning.
I beat it.
Yeah.
That's all I care about. And then I also played a game that dropped a little while ago, also on Game Pass, called Mixtape. I don't know if you've seen this
I've heard of it,
at all.
Yeah, I know.
Okay. So that was interesting. Also skateboarding, but way more realistic. Very story driven. I don't know if I'll keep playing it, but interesting. It was like coming of age in it feels like the mid 90s, early 90s maybe, right, where you are burning CDs, you have lots of cassette tapes, and there's like the goal of the main character is to go to California and work on movie soundtracks or something like that. And she is, she graduated high school, she's in this very transitional period, and there's excitement about the future, but worry about leaving her friends and, the closeness of all of those friends. So, but it's not, it feels way less emotional than what I just said. It's just like a vibe. It's very concerned with its vibe. It has a very particular look that's very beautiful. I like the animation style a lot. I think this is an Annapurna joint, heavily focused on its vibe and its storytelling. So the gameplay is like pretty minimal and just operates to contribute to the atmosphere of the game.
It was published by Annapurna, but it was not developed by them.
Okay, that's good to know.
It was developed by Beethoven and Dinosaur, who I've never heard of.
Mm-hmm. It feels like somebody's very particular project.
Yeah, that's what I've heard about it. Yeah, and that it's very, I've heard that people like it or love it or hate it.
Yeah, I can see that. Yeah, it's interesting. It's cool to get to try out stuff like that. I mainly played it because, like I said before in a previous podcast, that each month you have to play a certain amount of Game Pass games to get the rewards back. Right. So I was like, okay, I got 2 more slots. I'm in the middle of trying to get through these actual games over here, but I've already put in my time on those, and I just need to play something else, what looks interesting. And that is kind of a good motivator to get me to, maybe I would like this mixtape thing, but I never would have tried it without
that makes sense.
The gamifying of the rewards. So I'm kind of grateful to at least get to see. It was really beautiful. The whole opening is really beautiful. You skateboard down a mountain during sunset with your 3 friends, and it was cool. So that's all I played was those 2 games in terms of I played other stuff, but it's not worth talking about. It won't take long because we're talking about controllers. And so that was a great show, Caitlin. Good job.
I was just going to say, this sounds like the most riveting topic. We can all guess that it was not Caitlin who came up with it.
Yeah. I think about controllers a lot. I have in the stack of possible topics for the show, I think in the first season I put in talking about controllers because I don't know.
Don't let people behind the curtain, Alan.
Oh, sorry.
You can't let them know that we jot down the most random ideas and then never do them because they're
you
bad.
You wouldn't even believe the ideas in that file. Yeah. You'd be like, who would talk about that?
Yeah.
But I do think about controllers
crap, Alan's self-indulgent crap.
Yeah. I think they're just like the medium that we interact with the game through. And it's interesting because I think that the goal of a lot of game makers, especially nowadays, is to get you to not think about the controls, that it should be some kind of like frictionless experience as much as possible. And I don't know, that there's something interesting to me about that in terms of like the evolution of controls, through the industry. Like, I'm old, so I can remember being in arcades, and part of the novelty of arcades, especially in like the late 80s, was different control schemes where you would, go to a video game and you'd be like, wow, like the original Street Fighter 1 had those buttons where it knew how hard you were hitting the button, and that was how hard the character would do their punch or kick. The animations were different based on how hard you hit the button. And that was the draw of that game, was that it was different than just pushing a button on the console.
Right. Do you remember the first time you were like genuinely impressed with a game's controllers?
Like, I liked it? Because
Like,
most of the time...
For me, the thought of being impressed just means it's so smooth. Like, it's, even if there's a million things, it's so intuitive and easy, and it just works.
Mm-hmm. Can you think of one?
I do, because it was actually something that I read about the game before I played it, and it was what drew me to the game, and that was Zone of the Enders on PS2.
Oh, interesting. It was like a rail shooter, yeah.
Yeah. And I remember the way... It's hard to describe how much PS2 games were better than PS1 games.
It's true.
Because the console changes just don't have that anymore. But I remember I was reading an article on this game, and the guy was describing what he was doing in the game and how easy it was, and it felt like he was describing a cutscene. I do not remember what article this was or what magazine it was in or where I was reading it or anything, or because I would credit whoever, and I just remember being like, I have to play this. And it's a pretty short game. I think I rented it and I finished it within the time that I had to get it back.
Yeah, Zone of Enders is pretty tight.
Yeah.
But it is really polished. It is a good experience, yeah. That's a good pick. Yeah. I wouldn't even think of rail shooters. I can't even imagine you playing a rail shooter, so that's really interesting.
I don't know why, just the way that this article was written sold me on it, and I had to play it. And I really enjoyed it. It had a good, had a very light story, but the story was good, and I liked the characters.
I think, yeah, that's true. And it wouldn't be what you would necessarily expect from, you'd be like, oh, this rail shooter has a story? What? But that's true. I think this is a more recent experience, but like maybe the Marvel's Spider-Man on PlayStation.
That makes sense. So I've heard that, yeah.
Oh man, this is weird to say, but I can remember playing it for the first time and just in the first few levels, like literally getting tears in my eyes, because it was like, I've always loved Spider-Man so much,
right?
From the Marvel comics and stuff. And I love the distinctive way that he is drawn in the comics. His fighting style is so different than any other character because he's doing all of those acrobatics, and it's always just visually more engaging than like Captain America goes up and punches someone in the face really hard.
Yeah.
And they captured that motion and gave you the ability to so fluidly move around the city, and it felt so good. And the way that the controller uses its little microphone to have the sound of the thwip sound of the, webs coming out of his hands. It's like they're coming out of your hands every time you push those triggers and all of that stuff. And then you go right into combat and you fluidly like jump over. It's like, it's such a good experience. And you don't even think about this very complicated piece of technology in your hand. It just becomes like thinking to action with no intermediary like problem. Really, really beautiful experience.
Yeah, I love whenever that happens in an action type game. Like it's less important in like a turn-based type or like a visual novel or anything like that.
Yeah.
But in an action game when you just don't even have to think. Like the thing about Witcher is, or that's just the one that popped into my head, is I never knew what sword I had. And I never learned. I just never learned which button it was to draw the right sword. I just kind of had hope. Or I would switch and see if my damage got better.
Right. Yeah. This demon's not going down. Oh, it's not the silver sword.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And there and various other things. Like, I don't know. In Final Fantasy 15, I remember that's just a button basher. You're just hitting as much as you can. And there was nothing interesting about it. And my mind is immediately going blank to every game I've ever played, every action game I've ever played. So I guess that's it. Just those two. That's not true at all, but you know what I mean.
I think there is like an aesthetic reaching for that experience now, though, in a way that to me is unusual, compared to the way that video games were, say, 35, 40 years ago.
Yes.
Like I was saying, that you would walk into an arcade and you would be like, wow, I can sit down in this thing that has a steering wheel and floor pedals and the screen looks like a windshield and drive a car. That's fucking crazy. And that's why I'm going to pay $1, to do this for 45 seconds before I crash and die or, whatever the experience is, because the controls themselves are so unusual and interesting that I want to experience that difference. And now the goal is to make the controls invisible to the player, to have a seamless, frictionless experience that is so immersive that you don't notice the controls in your hands at all.
See, I kind of disagree with that, or at least I think that is a goal, but they mess it up because they feel like they have to have a game that with like different interesting builds that you can do, which invariably involves, like with this build, if you hit this button, you can do this. And with this build, if you hit this button, you can do this and blah, 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 and all that. And I just never remember everything that I can do.
Yeah, that's very true for like a game like Elden Ring and stuff like that, where you have different weapons and it changes the way that the controller responds. And so you have to really like know your shit to do it the way you want to.
I was thinking about Kingdom Hearts 2 with that, and like a game that I love the combat in that game, but there is a lot going on sometimes, and in like you can have your different keyblades attached that all do different things and are good and bad at different things. It's been a while since I played it, so I don't remember the details, but I remember feeling like I never quite was an expert at it. Yeah,
you can really affect traversal in that game too, depending on the things that you have equipped, like your abilities and stuff too. It changes how Sora moves, in combat even.
Yes.
Let alone the environment. That's true. Yeah, you do want to have like a lot of customization, I think, in games, or like the developers want to give that freedom to the player.
A lot of players like that, but I do too. I do like it, so I'm not criticizing that. But I kind of miss the simplicity of just knowing the controls, all of them inside and out, and just being able to do exactly what you want to do without having to think about it. I think that is actually very rare. Or maybe I'm just an idiot when it comes to that type of thing about remembering the instructions, which it's true. I mean, it must be partly that.
I don't know. You like go to the extreme. I just must be a total brain dead idiot. I don't know. Maybe there's just it's just a little bit difficult, I think, is all it is.
And I don't actually care that much. Maybe that's it. I feel like if I call myself dumb, nobody listening will. I got to beat them to it.
You got there first.
Yeah.
I like action games a lot, but I will find something that works for me and I will like squat there where the game.
Yes.
Yeah. It's like, here's more things you can do. And I'm like, nah, I'm good. I'm good, actually.
100%.
That's one of the reasons that I don't like roguelikes, because it pulls that comfort away from you. in a very intentional way. And it's like, but I had my build that I like. And it's like, yeah, but try more builds. More builds is fun.
Yep.
And I'm like, no, I want comfort. I don't want more builds.
I played Dragon Age Veilguard 3 times and I made the exact same build each time. Because I was like, no, my build works.
Yeah.
I don't need your nonsense.
Why be a rogue when I'm a wizard? It's the end.
It's not even that I would choose the mage. I would then build my mage in the exact same way every time. I would get the exact same gear to wear, and I was like, this is what works. The third time I was like, okay, I'm going to do something different. And I did for a bit, and then I was like, nope, I'm just reassigning everything to get to where I want to be.
I think there is something, though, in like gaming culture that there's a playing into a fantasy of proficiency that I think that the controls are trying to help the player achieve in that way, where, like you're saying, where you can create your own build and then it plays exactly the way that you want it to, and there is no gap between your intention and what happens in the game, and that is kind of the goal for the game maker in terms of creating the experience for the player. And I don't know that I'm super interested in that whole thing in the way that the modern gaming culture is. And this just might be oldness on my part, but I really have a kind of nostalgia that comes from those arcades and picking up a light gun for the first time and shooting at the screen. And the fact that I was bad at it was just like part of getting better at, like, it's a new experience. Of course, I'm not good at it, and it didn't bother me so much as it feels like newer gamers, like coming into the experience now where they're like, I don't like this game because I don't have that feeling of I'm masterful at this thing right from the jump, if that makes sense, because the control scheme is weird. So, for example, my younger daughter, we got her a VR headset and she plays Minecraft a lot, and you can play Minecraft in VR, but of course the controls are quite different because of, you're controlling the camera literally with your body now. And so the whole thing is different. And she is like, I'm bad at Minecraft, and she stopped playing Minecraft in VR. She just plays different games that are more built for VR from the ground up.
That makes sense.
And she likes those more. Yeah, because she's like, I don't like the controls because I'm not used to it. And for me, I feel like that is the experience that I would want, is like I'm bad at this because of the controls, and I would explore that more because that's more interesting than having this same feeling over and over again of, wow, I'm such a cool badass because I'm playing a video game. I guess. So I have definitely played VR in arcade settings, and it's neat. I get bad motion sickness in real life in all kinds of circumstances, and I don't get it in VR because I think that the motion is tied to my body in a way that feels pretty natural. But it probably depends on the game. But yeah, I haven't done that, which would be cool. I think I would be into it because I do like these different controller experiences so much, but it's the expense of it is something it's not worth it to me.
There's like one VR game that looks interesting to me, and that's it. So
which one is it?
The one that I sent you that time where you get to be a conductor.
Oh yeah, that would be cool. That does look awesome.
Yeah.
Experiences like that are pretty cool. There's little micro experiences that I've seen in VR that I was like, oh, that would be neat. Where people have worked really hard to take stuff from fantasy book worlds and like, here's a scene from the book and you play it in VR, and I'm like, that would be cool. That would be neat to do that, but not worth it to
yeah,
get
no,
the
I want to play this one
$500. Yeah,
so I'm not gonna.
Exactly. Maybe if I was like stupidly rich, I would do it, but
yeah, exactly.
I can't justify that. But I have played stuff like in the Xbox era. I bought secondhand Steel Battalion, which I sent you.
Did you send me that picture? It looked so. I want to play that. It looks so fun. The idea of getting to be in the cockpit of a mech very specifically like a Gundam type of thing. Not a plane. I don't care about planes. But getting able to pilot a mech, that would be great. And not on a controller, because that wouldn't feel real to me, you know? I want buttons.
It's a wild controller.
Yeah, it's wild.
It's got 3 floor pedals, and then it's hooked up to I think it's like a 4-panel thing that kind of wraps around you a little bit, and the placement of these 2 flight sticks, which mainly control the legs, is very natural for where your arms rest from your your shoulders and stuff. It's like a real mech, whatever that means, Yeah. We've both watched enough anime that we're I get what that is. You have to push buttons at the right time and engage, make the rockets come out of their housing, and then you're able to shoot them and all of this stuff. When we bought it, because I think the game, you had to buy the game and the controller together, because this was the only thing that it was made for, obviously. And it's like a very simulator type of experience. It's very, I don't know, I want to say hard, but I don't mean difficult. I mean you can't do arcadey shit like I was talking about driving a train and through a volcano and stuff. It's not like that. It feels very realistic, I guess is what I mean.
Which is what I want when I'm driving a mech.
Yeah.
I don't know why this one thing I want realism.
It was weird. When we bought it, we had to buy it used because it was so expensive. It was the same cost as the console.
Yeah, that makes sense.
So me and my roommate, we were we'll go in half together and we'll play this game. And we found a used one at, I don't even think it was a GameStop. It was one of these other fly-by-night kind of places. And it did not have the instruction manual.
Nice.
Which was vital, because the game, it even tells you when you boot it up, it's do not play the game until you have read the manual, because there are no tutorial levels in this game. And so we just had to figure this fucking game out through trial and error. We were okay, what happens when you push this button? And just getting out of where you start is really hard in that game, where you have to step out from cover and get to this other, you're going from cover to cover, and it's how do you walk? How do you, we would step out and immediately just get machine gunned down by the other mech on the map. You just start out with them shooting at you, and it was so hard to trial and error our way through that level. But it was really, really interesting to figure out, I push this pedal and then do this with the controller, and then push this pedal and do okay, so now we're running. Okay. And then when we push this button, it moves the arm. Okay, and I could do, and on like that. But I really wish we had the manual because it was so difficult. But super interesting. I loved the simulation of it. We got really into, people were making videos. YouTube was brand new at the time.
Right.
And we were watching videos of people who took the controller apart and replaced it was all light up push buttons, and they replaced them with switches, an on off, an airplane kind of switch. That was really, really cool. We were wish I knew fucking anything about electronics so we could do that.
Well, it looks like you can find them on eBay for $600 American.
It's crazy, right?
Yeah.
Plus you have to have an Xbox.
Yeah.
I think it's on the Xbox 360. So that's not a backwards compatible game. So you would have to have the 360, one of them that works. So good luck finding that.
I had a 360 before we moved that I bought used, but I think I got rid of it.
And you would need the instruction manual. It's really vital. I'm sure you could get a PDF of it now, though, now that I say that.
Oh, one that comes still in the box is $1,000.
Oh my God, I can't imagine. Yeah. I mean, that's an extreme case of that whole thing. Around the same time, I also got a game that was super interesting, not very fun to play, called Lifeline, where you used the headset. I think this was an official PS2 headset that had a microphone built into it, and that kind of shit was like new at the time for video games. There was another game made by Rockstar, like the same people who make Grand Theft Auto,
I know who
called
Rockstar is. Yeah.
for Manhunt.
Okay, yeah.
And in that game, you play this like psycho serial killer guy, but you're dumped in the middle of a very dangerous city in the worst neighborhood possible with no context. And then the character, the antagonist character, talks to you and tells you like, I'm sending these people to come kill you. It's played by Brian Cox, the actor. So it's like actually like a really great delivery. But the way that they did that, if you had this official headset, his voice would not come through the television. It would only come through the headphones.
Interesting.
The same way that it was for the character. So that was kind of cool. But Lifeline, the way that you controlled it, you didn't use the controller at all. You gave voice commands to the character and you would tell her. So it was as if the premise of the game was that you are sitting in the security room of the office building and she is kind of like infiltrating the place and you are guiding her and being like, there's 2 guards around the corner. You're going to have to like sneak out behind them or, come around the corner and shoot or whatever. And you would tell her that and then she would do it. And it pretty much worked. It wasn't great. Like you had to use very specific commands and speak very carefully so it could understand what you were saying.
Yeah. That sounds like a really cool idea.
Yeah, and it was a cooler idea. Yeah.
Yeah, and I feel like it's very indicative of a lot of PS2 games where they were all like, "Oh, we have this new technology we can do so much with. Let's see how far we can go with it."
Yeah, yeah. Voice control was like pretty new at that time too, and it was pretty sketchy. And that game was definitely sketchy in the same way. It was funny. It didn't respond very well. Like we could control it. Me and my roommate could control it pretty well. You could use the controller in the game, and sometimes it was just easier to use the controller. But our girlfriends, if they did it, it would almost never work. There was something about the male voice that it was calibrated to that, like a woman's voice, it didn't recognize what they were saying. And I felt like they were saying things pretty clearly and it just wouldn't pick it up. So there was something about the game that was like intrinsically sexist that was kind of weird. Yeah. My roommate's girlfriend
shitty.
was like, I want to try it. And she tried it and we were like just baffled at how the game would not acknowledge her. And it was just weird.
I had a question regarding the Steel Battalion that the two of you split on. Did one of you get to keep it?
I think we didn't keep it for very long because it was such a difficult experience. We never got through that first level.
Oh.
Because it was so hard to control. Like through the trial and error, I mean, we spent hours on it. We probably played it for like 20 hours and never got through the first level because it was so hard to even try to do things, to be like, let's push this button and then, see if that changes this or that. And you were like right next to a wall. And so you might shoot a missile, but then it hits the wall immediately in front of you and blows up and your mech blows up, And so, yeah, eventually we just went and turned it back into the same game store for credit and split the credit.
Too bad.
Yeah. I didn't keep anything from that time, which was a huge mistake because I had like some real valuable shit, actually.
I feel the same way about some of the stuff we had. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like I don't Xenogears, which is fucking impossible to get now.
Oh, man. Yeah.
And I would love to.
Yeah, I think that's the thing, though. I don't really care about, like, I wouldn't go back and play the Def Jam fighting game, that I did own and is now worth like $500 or something like that. Because, like, I didn't care. Like, it was kind of fun, but I was like, whatever. But I don't have a gaming collection that's built towards value in that way. It's built towards experiences that I would want to repeat.
Yeah.
And so I wouldn't keep it anyway.
well, I've never heard of a video game being worth like a life-changing amount of money. You know, like $500 would be nice, but that's not going to change my life.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I guess if you had several of those, which I did, I had like the Marvel versus Capcom 2, and I had Soul Calibur 2, and I had that other Def Jam fighting game, and like you put all those together, and getting close to $2,000 there from that era. But nope, I traded them all in and got Red Dead Redemption or something stupid like that instead. So you played Guitar Hero though. So did you have like the guitar controller? Did you ever get like the drum set or any of that stuff?
I didn't. A friend had Rockstar? No.
Rockstar, yeah, I think that was it.
No, but that's the name of the... Okay. Now, the GTA people have confused me. Rock Band. There we go.
Rock Band, yeah.
Wow. A friend of mine had Rock Band, and I remember I've used the guitar and the drums, and I guess you would just plug in 2 guitars and somebody would do bass, and then somebody could sing, which is wild to me. Like, who would want to do that? And I have such bad rhythm that I was never good, especially at the drums.
You were like really playing drums in that game. When you were playing the drums, it was like pretty close to real.
Me and my friends were all band geeks, right? And so one of my friends did play the drums relatively well, I suppose, in real life. And he was good at I think it was difficult for him not to be like playing the drums, if that makes any sense.
For real? Yeah.
So he just sort of had to turn his brain a different way. But then he did get pretty good at it. And it was his preferred thing to do, was to be on the drums, which was fine because I loved bass guitar because it was the easiest.
For real. Yeah. Just hit these chords, 2 or 3 chords every bar. Yeah. Yeah, I knew people who played guitar and couldn't play that game in the same way that you're saying, because they were like, this is so wrong. Like, even on the hardest difficulty, it's not the way that you play guitar at all.
Yeah. So there, if you're musical, there is an amount of turning off that type of brain and like turning on game brain, as it were. That sounds so stupid.
I think that's right. I didn't play guitar, and it felt like I was playing guitar, and I think that's what they were going for.
Yes.
It was like, yeah,
I remember
feel like
when
I'm
a bunch of us would get together and play like for hours. If you were one of the people not playing and you were just watching, they looked like a band.
Right. Yeah, it was cool in that way.
Yeah, it was cool that way. And also we were all very drunk.
Yeah.
Like I think that is I think the amount of vodka in my friend's parents' basement was intrinsic to how long we played those games.
Yeah. And tells you that it wasn't that hard, like
yeah.
Did you ever do like the DDR style games or any of the
here's
in
the
a
thing.
Party setting?
I don't want to make generalizations about people, but I live in Vancouver and I was here when DDR came out, and we have a very large Asian population here.
Mm-hmm.
So what I'm saying is we have Olympic level DDR people here.
Right.
And I've never owned DDR, but I would never, ever presume to play it in a
where other people can see you.
Or not even that other people can see, but yes, that too. But also I would be taking away from them. They have goals they have to meet, I think.
Right.
That was their profession, I'm pretty sure. It sounds so terribly, like, almost racist and sexist to say this, but, like, there was always a lineup of Asian girls at the DDR machine who were tiny and somehow fucking amazing at DDR,
Yeah.
And I was like, that's yours. I cannot, That's not for me. Please get your high score and somehow don't sweat. I don't know.
Right. There's definitely like another level where you're playing DDR and you're like, yes, okay, left, up, down, right. Okay, I'm doing all of the things. And then the level after that is where you're actually dancing and doing that at the same time. Those people are incredible to me. The people who like are actually like spinning around, moving their hands and like putting their feet, their legs down in the certain positions, all hitting everything together is like incredible to see that.
From what I have seen, that is not how you do it though, if you want the high score. If you want to be the good, if you want to be the very best, as it were. How you do it is in the arcades, there was always a bar at the back.
Yes. Yeah.
Put your arms back, you grab onto that, and you kind of lean so that your arms are taking a good amount of your weight, and you just tap the buttons with your feet moving around as fast as you possibly can.
You would often see them built with those bars on the metal mats in the arcades. Yeah. We have a home version of DDR with like a big plastic mat, and it has, the 4-way control.
Yeah.
It's a single player version of it. And that was for the Wii. And my wife played that quite a bit. So she would do the, because she had the Wii as a kind of workout machine also. So she had special controllers that had to do with the balance board for Wii Fit. And then she had like gloves that were weighted, but also then the controller could snap onto it. And so you would like do like a boxing style workout regimen, and it would, track. It had like a calendar built into it, and it'd be like, you did 30 minutes of this kind of training and 40 minutes of this kind of thing. And here's how many calories you burned and all of that kind of stuff. Like it really helped out mathematically. I don't know how good the actual information of the trainer was and stuff like that. I feel like it was actually like bad for her elbows and wrists in the way that it was set up, but it definitely like helped her to meet some of her goals in working out right after, giving birth to our second child. And she really liked the DDR mat more than the Wii Fit balance board stuff because it was just like more fun for her.
That makes sense. The Wii is such an interesting machine because it really sold itself to like 5 different groups of people, and it sold well to all 5 of those groups.
For sure.
Somehow it really marketed itself as the gaming console for the whole family, while at the time when all other consoles, like this is really when gaming started to be less for children and more for frat guys.
Yeah.
Marketing wise.
No, I think you're right. And the controller difference was a really key part of that. You look at like the PS3 controller where you have, not only does it have 2 analog sticks, but those analog sticks are also buttons.
Yeah.
It has the 4 face buttons, and then it has 4 buttons on the shoulders also. And it's like, it's crazy how complicated this thing is. Compared to the Wii controller, where it just has 2 buttons and the face thing, and then a trigger, on it if you're not plugging in the nunchuck. And then it has a very natural motion control element to it that felt pretty high fidelity for what you were doing in any given game.
Yeah, unless you wanted to like choose something specific on the menu, that could be a bit of a bitch with the motion controls. But yes, otherwise they were pretty good. But I'm just always continually impressed by how Nintendo was like, well, the GameCube, was still as seen as for kids at a time when gaming was becoming for 20-year-old men. Again, marketing wise, not reality. So it didn't sell. And so they just repackaged it. And instead of changing their whole feel as a company into being for frat guys, they were like, well, now it's a family machine and it is for everyone. And they pulled it off.
Yeah, they really did it.
And
the Wii was so fun
too.
To
think of.
It was like loaded with peripheral controllers.
Yeah, it wasn't just like a lie that they told that fun for the whole family. It really was. People who'd never played video games before in their life got into some of those games. Like you said, there was all these fitness ones, which is wild to think of now.
Yeah, 100%. I think the Switch has tried to do that a little bit to less success.
Well,
I mean, it was still for everybody, but I think the fitness angle just didn't work as well as the Wii fitness culture did.
Again, the pivot from the Wii to the Switch is also so interesting because it really, because at the time Nintendo had their two, they would always have like a living room console. We're getting way off topic from controllers here, but whatever. And a handheld.
I don't think so. I think it is related.
Okay.
Yeah.
They would have their living room console and their handheld console, and the Switch was, both, as the name implies. So they just kind of went in a different direction, and I think it is better selling than the Wii.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, they sold way more Switches than Wiis. Yeah.
So
which is crazy. Yeah.
It's crazy, and it kind of feels almost like they went backwards because they did go back to being a very for gamers machine, but kind of after they convinced a lot of people who weren't gamers to be gamers.
Yeah. I think that's right.
And they went after 2 disc consoles, they went back to a cartridge console, which also feels very backwards.
Mm-hmm.
But it worked for them.
Yeah, that was crazy, but it worked.
And it's so wild. It is so wild. And you can still do motion controls with the Switch. Technically, the technology is better on the Switch.
It's better.
But they just didn't go as hard for it as they did on the Wii.
Yeah.
So it's so interesting.
Yeah, at the end of the Wii, I bought a Wii Motion Plus, which was like a gimbal that you put at the bottom of the thing that gave it the kind of fidelity that the Switch Joy-Cons have just built into them. I got that specifically because I wanted to get the new Legend of Zelda game, Skyward Sword, which was going to integrate the motion of the Wii controller as Link's sword specifically. Yeah. And you use the nunchuck as his shield and stuff. And when I was a little kid playing the Legend of Zelda, the original Legend of Zelda, I don't know. I feel like my childhood was pretty normal, but sometimes when I talk to other people my age about the way that I played in the world, they're like, that's fucking weird. So I guess take this however you want.
Everyone thinks their childhood was normal until...
Normal, yeah. But
until you're talking about it to someone and you're like, oh...
But this is how everybody who I knew also played. So we just would pretend to be our favorite character.
Yeah.
And then it was a big, mashup of everybody's imagination. And so I would pretend to be Link from The Legend of Zelda, and I had my little sword that would shoot energy beams, if I was at full health, whatever that means when you're playing outside, and I had my shield, and I loved to be Link, when we would play with all of our friends.
Yep.
And they were all, who they were like Ninja Turtles or whatever, their favorite guy was. And the marketing of you can be Link in that same way, but towards the television screen, I was like, that's kind of cool. I would like to try that.
Yeah.
And what it turned out is Caitlin, I am not a sword fighter, it turns out.
I've actually heard that the controls for that were not great.
It was so hard. It was so hard to the troll guy is coming to fight me and he has a sword and they're like, block, do the defensive. And I was like, I never studied kendo as a child. I don't know how to do this. And I would just get chopped up. And it was easier to use the controller as a controller than to do the motion control. And so it just wasn't as fun. But there were moments in that game where to power up Link, you would hold the sword in the classic Link pose. It's kind of like He-Man for Masters of the Universe. You would hold the sword straight up in the air, and then the whole thing would rumble, and then this light show would happen on the screen, and that did give me movie chills when it happened. So there were cool parts of that experience. But I was literally so bad at the actual sword fighting because it was realistic that I couldn't do it, the same way that I couldn't play drums in Rock Band either. It was funny because I got a Tiger Woods golf game because I play golf games as video games that used the same Wii Motion Plus attachment because I was like, I spent $60 on this dongle, like I want to
Right.
get my money's worth. And it turns out that it was like real golfing. And I was like, I'm so bad at real golf that it was the exact same problem. I was like, I can't play this fucking game.
Just as an addendum to my discussion about going from the Wii to the Switch, I understand that the Wii U was in the middle there, but I know nothing about the Wii U, as I'm sure everyone else also knows nothing about the Wii U.
I forgot about that.
Yeah, I did too while I was talking, and it was only afterwards that I was like, oh, they had another console.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They were like, what if an iPad? Yeah.
Yeah, I know one person who had a Wii U, and I only kind of vaguely know him. I think all he did with it was Mario Maker.
Oh yeah, that was on there, but then it transported over to the Switch, so it didn't matter. Yeah, that's another control scheme. I think Nintendo has always been more open to that. Like you even go back to the NES and they had the Rob the Robot controller that I had a friend who had that when I was little, and that was just amazing to go over to her house and you would put like these drops of water in these pans and it would balance the robot controller in such a way that he could push the buttons and
interesting.
play
I've never
Super
even
Mario
heard of
Brothers. It was crazy this little robot would play with you. You play like, I'm not remembering the name of the game. It was like Kid Icarus and stuff like that.
Interesting.
That had 2-player elements to them. Yeah.
But even like, I don't remember if this came in the main Nintendo package, but everyone I know had a Duck Hunt gun.
Oh, yeah, that was in, yeah. You had Mario and Duck Hunt together, and it had the light gun in the bundle, yeah.
Man.
Light gun was great.
I was so
good.
Stupid when I was a kid. I did not understand how that controller worked at all. And
I was such a dead aim with that thing. I was so good at the light gun.
But like, it could not have known how you were aiming.
As long as you were like dead on with the screen, the way that it worked, it shot an infrared beam and then it would hit the glass of the television and bounce back into it had like a receiver in the emitter of the gun.
Interesting.
And so that's how it knew where you were hitting on the screen.
Interesting. Okay. See, I didn't know that then or now. And I remember thinking about it recently and thinking like it could not have known where I was pointing at the screen. But I guess it kind of did.
Sort of. Yeah. It would know if you didn't hit the screen because it wouldn't bounce back. You would just get, like a crack shot. But I played Hogan's Alley, which was a arcade game. I mean, it was it wasn't the arcade game, but it was a really good port for the NES. And that game had it would have these tin cans or like soda cans that were falling from the sky. And the goal of that level was to shoot the bottom part of the can and it made it like flip back up in the air. And I could get 9 or 10 cans going at the same time and not have any of them fall to the bottom because the accuracy on that gun was so good, for a CRT screen. You also had like zero lag on a CRT because of the fact that it was like a light emitting diode, screen on the phosphor screen.
Right.
So there was no lag between the IR emitter on the gun and the CRT emitter in the television. And a big problem with adapting these games for LCDs or OLEDs now or whatever your TV is that it has a built-in, like the entire image is actually like a computer process generated image that requires a certain amount of processing time, no matter how good your computer is in your screen. And then it's going through the video game processor because it's not emitting, a fast as light infrared beam. It's actually just motion controls that are simulating that whole thing. So it's funny how the better fidelity screens and better fidelity motion controls have led to a worse experience with that whole thing because we took light emission out of the equation, actually. they just recently released Time Crisis on the PlayStation 5, like not even a month or two ago, and playing it, so the way that you can play it is to hold a PlayStation 5 controller sideways at the screen as if it was a gun, and which is a terrible way to hold that controller.
Yeah.
But your right hand is kind of holding where your right hand would be on the controller and then pointing the left hand side of it at the screen. And then your index finger rests over the trigger and you pull the trigger that way. And that's how you aim at the screen. And it's pretty good at that. It's pretty good at it. But it's nowhere near like playing Time Crisis in an arcade with an actual light gun,
Yeah.
at a CRT screen. The fidelity is just not the same.
One thing that I did want to bring up about controllers is that Nintendo is a bitch who didn't, get in line with everyone else.
Mm-hmm.
And they have their default confirm button in a different position than PlayStation and Xbox and presumably Steam. I've never used a Steam controller, although I've used a Steam Deck, and the confirm button is in the bottom instead of on the side.
Bad.
And generally speaking, if I'm playing a game, I'm like loyal to that game. You know what? I play it until I'm done. I don't switch between games very often the way you do. Like you always seem to have like 3 going on at a time or something like that.
Polyamory. Yeah, I get it.
Which is fine. Like there's just different ways of doing it. And
you're just wrong and I'm right.
Yeah,
it's
yours
fine.
Makes no fucking sense.
Right.
But that changes when you're playing Animal Crossing in, I don't know, 2020 or 2021, and then Final Fantasy VII Remake comes out, which you've been waiting for years.
Yeah.
But everyone you know is playing Animal Crossing, so you can't stop playing Animal Crossing. So you like switch between the two quite often. Like I would play Animal Crossing for hours. This is so stupid. And then I would turn on the PlayStation. And there was one night where I genuinely thought something was wrong with my PlayStation because it would just keep canceling out of the things I was trying to confirm into.
Yeah.
I was like, what is happening?
I 100% know what you're talking about. It's crazy.
When I figured out that it was just me being stupid and the PlayStation wasn't broken, I was so angry.
You have to change one or the other. I feel like it's the only way to live. Like you have to go and reconfigure the controls.
This is going to sound so stupid. I hate reconfiguring. I do it so incredibly. The only game I've ever done it with is Chrono Trigger, and that is because that game was fucking stupid. Mm-hmm. On Steam, I don't know where it is and what the controllers are elsewhere, but like to the point that I thought it was broken. Like I couldn't, and not in that same way. Like it made no sense to me. Like I think Square was confirm on that. Who has ever had the inner button be confirm? No one.
Yeah, that's
ever.
Weird.
Anyways, so I redid that one, but I think that is the only time I've ever redid controls. I always just assume that the designers know what they're doing better than I do.
Mm-hmm. That's funny.
I can see where if you were like mouse and keyboard, that makes more sense to me to reassign things.
I was curious about that because you play more PC games than me, and if you use the keyboard, but you just play with the controller.
Unless I'm playing like a visual novel, I'll do that with mouse and keyboard, obviously. But if I'm walking around, I do controller. I can't
do it with the arrows.
I cannot keyboard walk around. It drives me bananas.
Yeah. I feel that. I couldn't do it either. Yeah, that is a real problem. I have definitely experienced the Nintendo confirm whole thing.
I will never really ever forget how fucking stupid I felt that time that I booted up the PlayStation after playing Nintendo all day and couldn't sign in because I kept hitting cancel and I didn't understand why it wasn't letting me sign in.
Yeah, even sign in. Even start up the
I was
whole
stuck there
thing.
for like 10 minutes thinking
funny.
Something was broken.
That's really funny.
I would like everyone to be nice to me. This is very vulnerable of me to admit out loud, okay?
So here's a funny thing. I don't know if you've ever thought about this, but I've thought about it. Like I said, I think about controllers a lot.
I feel like we've just established that me and thinking
we're not. This is now camp.
Yeah, we don't meet very often.
Yeah. So on the original NES controller, you had the A and B button
Yes.
and the four-way, paddle.
Yes.
So when they came out with the SNES, the Super Nintendo, it had 2 more buttons on the face buttons. And then I think it also had the shoulder buttons, if I'm remembering right, R1 and R2, or R1 and L1, except they didn't call them 1. They just L and R.
Right, yes, yes.
And then it also still had the 4-way thing. But the 4 buttons were still A, B, and then X, Y. So when Xbox comes out later, so PlayStation comes out, and they also have 4 buttons, but they don't do letters because that is copyrighted by Nintendo. They can't copy the controller layout because they'll get sued. So they do shapes instead.
Yeah.
Triangle, circle, square, and X, which is confusing because X is both a letter and a symbol.
Yep. As soon as you said PlayStation controller, I knew exactly where we were going with this X nonsense.
Yeah. And so the X had to be in a different position than it is on the Nintendo. But the Xbox knows that you can't copyright alphabetical letters. So they also do ABXY, but their ABXYs are the mirror image of Nintendo's. So that they're in a different orientation than the Nintendo ones for the same trademark copyright reason. They'll get sued for copying their design on the controller. And so that is what leads to the confirm button being A and being like X on the PlayStation. And then when they say B on the Nintendo, like everything feels wrong because it's like they're very intentionally choosing a different place, in the orientation for the confirm on that generation.
For me, it's not where the letters or symbols are, though. It's where it's Xbox and PlayStation confirm is the down button, and Nintendo confirm is the right button.
Is to the right.
And
they did that to not get sued, but it's crazy. It makes it so much harder.
Do you have a favorite controller?
I have a fondness for when I was a kid. I had this really weird, terrible controller, but I still think about it to this day, called the Roll and Rocker controller on the NES. You should look this thing up while I'm talking about it because it's going to blow your mind. So you imagine like a sphere and cut the sphere in half and then try to keep your balance on this half of a sphere is what this controller is. It would plug into the Nintendo and then you would hold a controller in your hands at the same time. And whichever way that you were leaning on the Roll and Rocker controller was the way that the motion control kind of element to it would, lean backwards to go down, lean forwards to go up, and left and right.
But and why?
It was so hard. I loved it so much. It gave an element of difficulty to the games that was just like interesting to me. I don't know. Because I've always been weird. Like I've always been weird for controllers.
Sorry, when I said why, I didn't mean you. I meant Nintendo. But why Nintendo?
Yeah, why did they do this?
Yeah.
It was not sold by Nintendo. It was just licensed.
It does look like it was designed for, 10-year-old American boys.
For sure. Yeah. Somebody got it for me for Christmas because they were like, oh, Alan likes video games. He has a Nintendo. Yeah. He'll love this. And I did love it, but not for the reason that, this aunt or uncle might have thought it. Just like try playing Final Fantasy on that thing because I did it.
How about no? I've seen streams of people like playing big RPG games with, the rock band drums. Or the
we were going to say the same thing,
or the DDR mats, or whatever.
The
and
DDR
I'm like,
mat.
This looks. I understand that you are a content creator and you need to make money, but this looks like you're torturing yourself.
Yeah, I was doing it for free back in the day. It was the exact same challenge run mentality. It was where I watch someone do a DDR mat Elden Ring run, and I'm just like, wow, crazy. That's what I was doing as well. So I still have a lot of affection for those memories. I could never do it nowadays, of course. Like My knees alone would not allow me to do that anymore. But I do. Oh, God.
It's so interesting that you went back to your childhood, because my favorite controller is the Nintendo Switch 2 Pro controller, because it has really good rumble and it stays charged for fucking ever.
Oh, that's cool. So that's like a more conventional controller.
Yeah, that's
setup,
their like
right?
newest controller, right?
Mm-hmm. Not like two Joy-Cons stuck together, but it's like a controller
Yeah, no,
looking thing.
yeah, just a normal, yeah.
Yeah, I think I like the, if we're talking like modern stuff, I think I really prefer a good handheld fighting game controller these days if I'm doing fighting games. So they have like these kind of pro controllers now that sit across your whole lap and simulate the kind of arcade controls where your hand would lay over the three buttons, or the two sets of three buttons, three for punch, three for kick. And then you would have, on the left-hand side of the controller, a arcade stick. Or now they even have buttons on the left-hand side that do up, down, left, right, down, which I can't even fathom, like my pinky finger being left, and like I would have to reorganize my whole fucking brain to use those controllers. But it's the same kind of like pro controller that you're talking about, but instead of having the 4 face buttons, it has 6 buttons, and it doesn't have any triggers on it, and it has no analog sticks. So it kind of like cleans up the space of the controller, if that makes sense. And I can just use my 2 thumbs to hit any of the buttons that I need for modern fighting games. And it's so good. It's so good. That is like my favorite kind of controller now when I sit down and do fighting games and stuff.
Interesting. As you were describing it, I was just shaking my head. I was like, too many buttons. Nope. Although I guess it sounds like it would be better for like carpal tunnel.
You don't need more than 6 buttons to play any modern fighting game.
6 buttons sounds like too many.
I guess.
For one hand, which I guess that's not true.
You've got 8 buttons on a regular controller because you've got the shoulder, the 2 triggers, the shoulder buttons.
You're not wrong.
2 analog sticks are buttons,
Yeah, and then like sometimes there's buttons. Even a button like that your pinkies can push on the inside of the handlebar.
Yeah, or on a PlayStation, you can push the entire like middle part of it as a button sometimes too.
It's too many. I'm on less buttons. This is like my boomer opinion, less buttons.
Well, that's kind of what I'm saying, is that experience kind of just cleans up the controller for me, where there's no analog sticks. I mean, obviously I can't use that to play lots of games, but you can use it to play these like, old HD 2D games that, like none of them are using analog sticks really in the same way. So you can like move around. Like beat 'em ups are really good for these kind of fighting controllers, and they have like a really high fidelity click rate because they're built for tournament play and stuff. So they're very reliable switches on the inside, in terms of like pushing the buttons and it doing the thing that it's supposed to do for a really long time. So these controllers are of a really high quality, I guess is what I'm trying to say. And they're great for playing older style games, which there's lots and lots of these. Like any Metroidvania, you can use these kind of controllers to play those games because you're not having to deal with 3-dimensional motion depth that you need the analog sticks for. I find it to be a lot easier on my thumbs to just have the, you're going left or right or ducking or whatever, with the D-pad style control.
Right.
Yeah, and that's pretty much my favorite kind of controller now is fighting controllers. I have tried to build lap fighting controller style, the lap board kind that I mentioned. And I have one that I built that I successfully like made the whole thing soup to nuts, following somebody else's. It's not like a kit that I bought, but a guy on YouTube was like, do all this stuff. And I built it and it works. And I was kind of proud of it, but I don't use it very much because it's just so much easier to use these ones that you hold in your hand like a controller. I'm just not the same kid that I was, where I had those arcade skills. I don't have those skills anymore. I'm just used to the controller now. Do you have like a least favorite? Is it just the Nintendo difference there, or where you've used a controller and you're like, not
I have
this?
an
Like, do
idea
you
in my
hate the
head.
Joy-Cons?
I have an idea in my head, and let me just double check that I'm right about this. Yeah. So have you ever played like a PS1 game on the PS2 and then gone back and played it on the PS1? Because that's torture. The PS1 controller was bullshit. Sorry.
Well, it only had a D-pad, didn't it?
Yes,
It didn't
there
have
was
the analog sticks.
There was no analog sticks. And because PS2 was like 100% backwards compatible, I ended up playing a lot of like Final Fantasy 7, 8, and 9. Like the first time I played all those games, I played on PS1. But the second, but after that, once we got a PS2, I played them all on the PS2, which was so much better. And it's so weird going back to a non-analog stick controller after playing with one. But I will say it makes it makes sense about how I move now that I still have some of those habits. Like on the world map in the old Final Fantasy games, because I didn't have an analog stick, I would kind of just hit forward and then I would move the camera in order to steer. And I still do that. I still just kind of hit forward with my stick and mostly move the camera in order to steer.
That's funny.
And that's just left over from not having the sticks.
There's no way you would know this, but one of the hardest things for a lot of players, you talk about like that transition, going from the Nintendo to the PlayStation and how it was fucking you up. For first-person shooter players, one of the things that they really hate about the Halo games is when you get into a vehicle, the way that you drive it is what you just described. Like that you push kind of forward on driving the car, and then you control the steering by moving the camera.
Yeah, that makes sense.
And like everyone hates it. Yeah, it makes sense in my head because it is the same as controlling your guy, right? The Master Chief. It's the exact same control scheme, but people are like, no, I should like push the pedal with my finger and then steer with the analog stick. And it's like, no, you just use the analog sticks to move around the same way that you would, when you're the guy. It's just the exact same control scheme. That's really funny that you do that way. I don't think I do that at all. I need it to stay north, south, east, west, and I move the guy around.
I don't really like 100% do it the way I would before the analog stick, but it is still a part of how I move around, that I just, if I have to go right, I move the camera right. And it's why, you know what, thinking about it now, I do reassign camera controls if they feel wrong. Because I use them so much in how I move around. Yeah. I'd forgotten that I do that. Yeah,
it should never be inverted. I don't understand.
Or
unless I'm flying,
it should never be the opposite of however you want it to be.
No, I think people should go to jail who do it inverted.
I see.
Like what? Yeah.
But what
they would.
So like you don't like hitting left to go right to move the camera right?
No, yeah, that's wrong. You should be put in jail.
Like
if you're pushing like a flight controls, right? Like if you push up to go down the way that you would in a flight game, but you're a person, like you should be shot. Somebody should shoot you in the back of the head. Like that's bad.
Yeah. No, I agree about that. I'm glad I don't.
That's like the hot take. That's like the TikTok short clip of this episode.
You should be shot if you like your camera controls inverted.
Be shot in the head. And you're like, yes, you're right.
Yeah.
Until you said that, I think the only game that the old Final Fantasies, like Final Fantasy 9 made me crazy how you could spin the world around your character. And I was like, I don't know where I'm going. Like,
but you could do that in 8 too.
I know you could. Yeah, you're right. But for whatever reason, in 9, it really was an issue for me. And I think it's because I played it on the PS2 originally and not the PS1. I think that's what was going on. Or I played it more on the PS2.
So you're blaming the controller for you getting lost?
Yeah, I was like, why am I able to move the world at all? This is wrong. I should not have that power.
I see.
Yeah.
I think I've like memorized the Final Fantasy IX map. The last time I played it, I remember like having a chocobo that could only lightly swim. And I was like, okay, so that means I can get to this place and this place and this place, but not this place and this place. Right. Okay. And then when you get one that can do the whole ocean, I was like, right, this continent doesn't have a beach because they don't want you to go there yet. And then all these things. And I just
You
knew
just
it.
know it in your head. Yeah.
Because I've played it so often.
That's great.
Anyways, should we wrap up?
Yeah, I think we're done because now we're just talking about world maps.
Yes. Whoops. All right, so if you want to let us know your favorite and least favorite controllers or send us pictures of whatever weird ones you've had throughout your life, you can shout us out on Blue Sky at Inferior Gaming. You can also follow me personally on Blue Sky, where I mostly complain about work and the weather, at Inferior Caitlin.
Just be careful of the kind of pictures you're sending us with your special controls these days, I guess.
What?
When you send them to inferiorgamingpod@gmail.com. I'm just thinking about, VR and the way that has really gone into a not safe space for work in some ways with peripheral controls, if you will. And you can contact us directly by going to the website at hologroundmedia.com and filling out the contact form there.
And remember, Nintendo sucks.